Create Reality podcast with Michael and Teresa. Today we're talking Survivor Australia Brawn vs Brawn II. We are recapping the whole of this week from episodes 21 to 22. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. In today's episode, the postgrads become the interns, killing each other in turn. Morgan and Kate fight for their lives, or take a nap. And Kaelin and Miles both set records for Australian Survivor. If you've missed the episode, you can catch all the action on 10play, Survivor Australia, Brains vs Brawn II, episodes 21 to 22, breakdown coming up.
Hello all.
Hey everyone.
Welcome. We've only got a couple episodes left to go, so we're getting, that feeling of the show ending, so thank you for staying with us this season.
Yeah, and I think it's been very, very exciting so far. And it looks like the finale looked to be quite a battle, between like old friends,
new enemies, found the giants. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, Morgan goes home. No post-tribal.
No jury
blurb.
villa.
No jury villa.
Yeah, I think I was actually quite
No
shocked.
jury.
No jury. Yeah.
No jury.
Yeah.
Just disappears.
I know. I think I was pretty surprised. To be honest, we don't actually know what has happened because the show didn't explain it.
No. But there has been a lot of rumors and hearsay and conjecture on the internet, especially if you go to Reddit. Some of it not so pleasant, some of it very controversial, some maybe even legal. We don't want to get into the rumors because there is no proof.
Yeah.
But it does explain some things, but not everything. I will say, I wish the show, whatever it is, okay, whatever happened between Morgan and Ben, I wish the show confronted it and opened up rather than covering it up and just deleting these two from the edit. Okay? Ben got 6 confessionals this whole season. Morgan got 7. And Morgan
stayed all the way, towards the end. Yeah, I know. I mean, whereas Ben kind of like got out before merge.
I know. Compare that to, some of these other players, like, say, Zara, Kaelin, 25, Zara, 41, it goes on. Kate, 21 confessionals. For her to get basically the purple edit, both of them, removed from the show as if they didn't exist, I think it's a bit like the Streisand effect, where the more they tried to delete them, the more the internet, the fans have inquired, dug up, and speculated, and it's made it somewhat worse.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you get, like, say, even earlier contestants who left, like, in the maybe first 3 episodes, like Nash, Zen, I think they probably had a lot more confessionals than
Nash
Morgan
had 20.
did. Yeah, and Ben did, yeah, so...
And now it's a cover-up. Now it looks like people are going to find out what's happened.
I think even Morgan, on her Instagram, she said... what was it? She has like a strict NDA. Dealt with a lot of like BS on the show that you have no idea about. So whether she's actually going to come clean about it or maybe speak as best to it as she can, that remains to be seen. But then again, I mean, what we've seen on Reddit, it is all rumors, and until I think something verified comes out, maybe we'll just leave it as that.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Like, I think there is some things that are going on.
Yeah, something's definitely going on. We can't speculate on what we don't know. Otherwise, I just don't like doing that. But I will just say I wish they had just brought it into the light, talked about it. Whatever it was, whatever disagreement, it could have been used as maybe a learning opportunity, a teaching moment for people to come together, understand a little bit more about each other, whether it was, So that we'll leave it at that, but it does explain a lot as to why. Because throughout the show, we're going, who is Morgan? Why is Morgan? Who is Ben? Where is Ben? What is Ben?
Yeah, I think because like say there was that challenge where AJ and Ben both threw, and AJ had a confessional about it, and I was kind of expecting Ben to also have a confessional as to like why he did what he did. But nothing happened, and then I think shortly after he just left very suddenly and very abruptly.
Exactly, and it was very sudden, very shocking. Very jarring, and the show normally doesn't do this. But, it's funny on Reddit. Everybody's cousin seems to work on Survivor. You know what I mean? I have a cousin who's an intern who I actually do know friends who work on Survivor. I'm a former editor, and I haven't reached out to them because I don't want to violate their trust by asking them. But trust me, if you work on the show, you don't talk about it. At least you should. They shouldn't be talking about it. There are strict NDAs where employees on the show do not talk about it, even amongst their closest friends. So I'm surprised that people are saying these rumors.
Anyway, so let's recap the episodes 21 to 22.
Yeah.
So it's down to final 6. I think Kirsten... was it Kirsten has just gone home?
Logan.
No, Logan went out ages ago.
No.
What?
Logan just... Wasn't it Logan?
No, Kirsten.
Oh gosh, I've lost my mind.
Kirsten just got voted out.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry, Kirsten was 2 weeks ago. We're just blurred now. Okay, and the final 6 are celebrating, but really it's the final 4 that are celebrating, the postgrads. Yeah. I'll edit that part out. That was embarrassing. And they're really celebrating this powerful postgrad alliance, and I have to say, what an alliance they are. Yeah. Especially the 3, not to, take anything away from Zara, but the 3 of Kaelin, AJ, and Miles are an almighty 3. They represent the outwit, outplay, outlast to the fullest.
I think so. I mean, for me, I feel like AJ has been outwitting everyone. Kaelin has, outlasted, and Miles has outplayed.
Yeah. Through AJ's social game, Kaelin's immunity idol challenge, beastiness, and Miles's idol play.
Yeah.
They have controlled the game since merge, and the 3 of them were kind of on the bottom or obscure pre-merge. We had AJ's kind of fumbling with the hostage situation pre-merge and these weird moves that I didn't really necessarily agree with. I didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
But since then, they have played such a tidy game, the 3 of them. They've controlled the tribe from all angles, going so far as to working together apart with Miles and AJ. And now it's all come together at this climax, almost this peak, where they can really,
Yeah, and to be honest, I also feel like they almost need to have a name for themselves, an alliance, because that's actually been the alliance that actually has lasted throughout the show.
It has.
When you see Miles' confessional in the later episode, he actually was kind of teary about the fact that, hey, AJ and Kaelin are the 2 people that I've actually been closest to in this game, and it sucks now that I have to take them out. And
it's fitting that these are 3 of the final 4. I think Zara deserves a place among them as well.
She does,
but she has come on a little bit later that group in terms of working with them.
Yeah. And also, it wasn't until later in the episode when she actually does make a move.
Yeah. But she's come along as sort of the mother hen sort of role where she's managing these crazy boys, managing their temperaments, their paranoia, their ego. So I can see it from her perspective where she might come through the middle and snatch some votes from these guys and be in a good position.
Okay, so you think she actually has quite a good shot to win?
I think she thinks she might have a good shot to win because I think from the edit that we're seeing, it's AJ Miles all the way.
Yeah.
Right? But I think in her mind, she sees it as though she's been managing this whole mess the whole way.
Tidying up their mistakes.
And I when she said that at jury tribal, I felt like that was a little bit of a hint to the jury, I'm doing all the cleanup work. These 2 guys are making all the big moves, but I'm the one cleaning it up socially, talking to the people that have been voted at the bottom, making things right so that they don't face the consequences of these moves. Appreciate what I'm doing here, jury,
Yeah.
So these kids get to play with the toys and make the big moves, but I'm the one that has to pack it away, clean up the mess. I thought that was a bit of a message to the jury.
Yeah, kind of like the way I do that with you.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I'm voting for you.
Okay. But otherwise, I'm going to get my boys to vote you out. It's
I'm outnumbered here. We've got a house full of pets that will vote me out. Okay,
they all happen to be Mama's boys.
Mama's boys.
Well, 2 out of 3 anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I agree. These 3 are almighty. Maybe the strongest group that we have seen in Australian Survivor. You don't want to compare them to the Black Widow Brigade and all these other all-time alliances, but these 3 boys have been iconic.
Yeah, I feel like they should call themselves the 3 Musketeers or something because they actually have been really good. They have been by far the strongest players in the season.
Yeah.
And they've kind of like stuck it out towards the very end, like, you know, without overtly, like, you know, betraying each other. I think they've still kept their friendship.
Yeah.
You know, even when they have voted for each other, which actually has, I think, only been twice. I think AJ has voted out for Miles,
yeah.
but then he won him to use the idol. So that was kind of like a, you know, like,
that was a good play.
That was a good play. In this case, we find out in episode 22 that Kaelin also voted for Miles, but that's because he knew he had an idol. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm actually going to get you out. It's more of a, you know, I want to flash the idol.
Shot across the bow,
Yeah.
a warning shot, a friendly tap on the chin.
Yeah.
You know, not a kill shot.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so Miles, at the beginning of this episode, he talks about killing Kaelin. And he thinks Kaelin wants to take AJ or Zara, but not Miles. Basically, I think Miles feels like no one wants to take him other than maybe Zara. And he says the words, they're incentivized to stay rock solid. This is while Kate and Morgan are still on the island. They're incentivized to stay rock solid, the four. Why is this? Why do these four... Because in my mind, I'm thinking, now is the last chance to use Kate and Morgan to get rid of an AJ, a Miles, a Kaelin, a Zara. Do you know what I mean? These are these two floating votes. This might be your... I would have thought the incentive would have been to take Kate and Morgan to the finals. But...
Well, do you think that maybe he perceives... Because, like, say, even though Miles has all these, like, great moves, he probably isn't very popular on the jury, as that's something that you pointed out.
Right.
Which I probably didn't think about before, because I always kind of just look at the moves that they make, but I don't really think about, like, how popular you are on the jury. And it seems also like this jury can get quite salty, as we've seen from Jury Villa. Like, they do take... You know, they really hold those grudges, and they might not be able to, like, put away their feelings in, you know, aside to actually vote for the best player, but maybe just vote for the one that they actually like best.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, but for me, to be honest, and I've said it in the last episode, I've actually always felt like Miles was kind of like saying this for camera.
Right.
I feel like because they kind of have a straight path. And I mean, in these two episodes, it does show that, you know, for firstly, Morgan went home, then Kate. So they were always going to stick together. But when things kind of like happen in a straight path, there's also no drama for camera. So it's okay if there's no camera, but, you know, you still have a show to uphold. You need to add some drama. So I have always felt like he just said that for camera.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. But then, and again, that might be something that maybe he feels then, but then it kind of changes as the days go by, because I feel like after a while, you know, because Mao, he likes to play, you know, and for him, this is like the last few days of Survivor. You know, you don't have any more days to play anymore, to make moves. And, you know, for someone who's actually been at the bottom, who's actually had to play very, very hard, it would probably get kind of boring, you know, like just sticking to the old
I guess so.
alliance.
I mean, the way they're talking about it, right? The self-talk among the four is very interesting. How they're saying, look, our resumes are complete. They're sort of appeasing each other to stop attacking each other. Like, guys, our resumes are complete. You're happy with your resume. I'm happy with my resume. Don't kill me. And so they're just sort of like, okay, let's have a truce, a ceasefire. I feel like that has been something perhaps the four have agreed upon for a long time that we didn't get to see. So that maybe that's why we're not seeing... That's why these attacks came so suddenly and so surprisingly to each other, in a way.
Yeah, and also I feel like there is perhaps not as much incentive to take out, like, say, an AJ or a Kaelin, because they also are shields. So they're good friends for Miles, but they're also shields, because once AJ goes, you know, you get Miles. Yeah, so... And also the fact that if you're willing to vote out someone in your alliance will immediately turn on you.
Exactly. So it's almost like the first to shoot also is the second to get shot, in a way.
Which I feel also explains why, like, AJ, he was just so surprised when Miles actually voted him.
We'll get into all of that.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay, so let's get to, right... AJ talks about big jury threats. Who is going to be a big jury threat? And I think what he means is people that are going to perhaps be a problem for him on the jury, right? And I think of Logan, Paulie, Laura, Kristen, Karen, Kate. People who may have strong feelings they call it a jury for some reason. And if you've ever done jury duty, they eliminate you based on your prejudices or your feelings. If it's a domestic violence case, they may go for women who are middle-aged and so on, that have families that are going to have more experience. Do you know what I mean? This jury, I feel like, is all over the place. I don't know how. I think, say, a player like Kaelin is going to reward good gameplay. But then players like Laura, Logan, Kristen may vote more emotionally or empathetically a certain way. They may not vote. They're not as experienced in the show. They've said that themselves. I didn't even know what rocks was.
I think for Kristen, I think Laura knew.
Okay.
But then...
But a lot of them... Yeah, so Laura did. Yeah, I apologise, Laura. But they may... My inkling is that they may vote for someone they just like.
Oh, so maybe like, say, Kirsten voting for Kaelin.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
You know,
okay.
a Kate voting for a Morgan rather than the best player. She's going to vote her bestie, you know.
And maybe like a Paulie,
a
not actually voting for anyone, but just, you know, because he's just
Paulie's
salty.
so salty. He may just go, look, none of you deserve it. None of you get my vote. And I think that's why AJ is really careful about managing. He talks about managing these jury perceptions.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think that's why he's also like, even though the intention was always to get out Morgan and Kate, I think he has actually done so in as gentle a way as possible. Like he's actually always been quite frank with them. Okay, this is probably what's going to happen, not necessarily what I want to do. But if you want it to go a different way, then you have the option of doing this. You know, so he's actually broken it to Morgan and Kate, actually. And the best way that you can.
The best way you can.
He's actually very diplomatic.
Very
to
diplomatic.
be honest, I don't know why he was actually wary of Logan in the past when he said, oh, she's a big social threat. When, to be honest, I actually think he's actually done the best in terms of managing everyone.
He's done brilliantly.
Yeah.
And I think you contrast that with Miles, who can be a little bit clinical, a little bit abrupt with the way he talks to people these episodes. With the, look, you got no choice. You have to vote this way or you're dead. You know, it's not the most gentle way of breaking up with someone or killing someone on the island, you know, basically strong-arming them into a move. Whereas AJ is very deft, gentle, empathetic. And I think should they get to the finals, these two, AJ and Miles, I think both of them have reason to feel good about their chances. Miles, obviously, for his big, flashy moves, but AJ for his relationships and the way he's managed these relationships so well. He talks about himself having the best game, the perfect game. I can't lose this game. He hasn't gotten a single vote, I don't think.
Has he not gotten a vote?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't gotten a vote the
I
whole
thought
time.
I thought that
which is
when they
very
did
interesting.
the hostage thing, I thought he would have gotten the vote, but okay.
Oh, he may have gotten one or two, but certainly not targeted by any big group.
Yeah, not a big target like, say, how Miles is actually being targeted.
You know, so I think he hasn't gotten as many votes relative to the player that he's been, the threat that he's been, which is kudos credit to his social gameplay and maneuvering. He really knows how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, and also when when Kate was kind of like almost felt like she was backed into a corner and she was crying at the fact that she had to vote out Morgan, and I think it seemed like he felt really bad, and he's like, because he was like, oh, I might have said the wrong thing here, because I think he just
he has a thing for pretty eyes and pretty smile, as he said in the last episode. He goes, that's very... What did he say?
She's got such pretty eyes.
She's got pretty eyes and a pretty smile. And that is very alluring to me. And that's why I want to work with her.
And I was actually thinking, oh my God, Kate, you could have actually used those tears a little bit earlier.
I know. You could have really manipulated. Like, if you really like me, AJ, vote Miles. She could have really played him, but, she didn't. Okay, so Kaelin. Let's talk about Kaelin and his record votes. Well, actually, before we get to that, we see Morgan and Miles on the beach, talking about how their games are aligning.
Right.
And Morgan comes up to him and says, I have a feeling you're ready to make a move. And Miles is like, yeah, I think that our gameplay is about to align up. Our paths are about to... And they want to go for Kaelin, but obviously it all hinges on Kaelin not being so bloody good at immunity challenges.
That was actually a very good challenge, to be honest, because it had a few parts. You have to jump into the water get the ball,
Yeah.
swim across the water, and we know that Kaelin can now swim like both,
like a freaking dolphin.
Yeah, he swims like a freestyle, and then
Changes to a butterfly
right,
stroke,
right.
then flips to a backstroke, then does breaststroke, then finishes with a freaking doggy paddle. He's just toying with these kids now. It's not so easy to swap strokes mid stride,
Yeah.
mid-stride, and he just does it so effortlessly. He's making these kids look.
And I remember you made this point about when they were on the platform and there's the ball hanging in front of them, they have to jump to grab it, right? So everyone else jumps, grabs the ball with it, and goes into the water. He actually jumps, catches the ball, throws it far away,
Yeah.
so that he can just focus on swimming. So that's hard to do.
Yeah, he's a prime challenge beast I know it says the obvious, but I would put him up there with Wu and Ozzy, two all-time great challenge beasts from American Survivor. He has the physique, which is to say he has that nimble, agile, not too big, not too small physique that has good balance, that is really good at these challenges. The big, hefty, brawny guys tends to not favor them, the Survivor challenges.
Especially in terms of endurance.
Yeah, but it's more these agile, quick guys that do really well at Survivor, and I would put him in the category of Wu and Ozzy and those two are all my all-time favorite Survivor challenge dudes, and he's up there.
Anyway,
good
so
on
going
you.
back to the challenge.
Yeah.
So you've got like the ball, having to swim, having to throw and hit another ball off the platform, and then the last one was a really good challenge where you have 3 balls and you have to kind of like push them up a slope, but there's like holes, there is like a good number of chances for the ball to fall off, and I think it requires a lot of dexterity.
Yeah.
And I like those challenges where it's a mix of different things rather than just like a pure endurance challenge where you hold, I don't know, when you stand on tiptoes.
You just stand or something for 5 hours, yeah.
For 5 hours, yeah.
So Kaelin wins a challenge, which changes everything, because instead of him being the target, now it's Kate or Morgan.
And also, it seems like Miles was actually very, very close too.
Yeah, Miles was pretty close.
So I think that was maybe the eye opener, because Miles has never come close, I think, to winning a challenge before.
He's done pretty well in some challenges, like the kicking one, but I can see it in his eyes. He gets this gleeful, crazy look where he's like, oh, I'm going to win. And then the ball drops every single time, or he knocks over the puzzle or something. He gets ahead of himself and gets way too excited.
Whereas Kaelin, I think he kind of like took a breath, said to himself, okay, let's go.
So AJ tells Kate, hey, vote Morgan.
Yeah.
And he makes Kate cry. This is heartbreaking. It's very interesting because I think sometimes he thinks about other people's games and sometimes doesn't even think about his own, because I feel like Kate had the real potential to cut. If Kate really wanted to survive in this game, the target is AJ. Because AJ is vulnerable here. AJ and Miles are supremely vulnerable here. They're a little bit insulated because of Kaelin and Zara, but still Kate and Morgan could have incentivized each of them to go for each other at the 6 spot instead of waiting to the 5 spot, I thought.
Oh, really? Okay.
But we talked about that before, about, the how tight these 4 are.
Yeah, they are very tight.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with whether Kate and Morgan could have gone for AJ, because they kind of always had a relationship with him. I think if anything, they need him in order to take out one of the other, like say if there was like a Miles or a Kaelin, if he was open to it, because then he would actually have been the conduit.
Yeah, true.
They haven't to kind of like facilitate that kind of...
they didn't get to activate their relationships enough with the other tribe members other than AJ. AJ really was the funnel through which the rest of the tribe communicated with those two. Miles even says to Kate, if you're here, I'll want to work with you, which is like the strangest date talk I've ever seen. Like, if you and I are the last humans around, we should talk. Like, that's not how it doesn't really seem conducive to a very good social relationship. So pre-tribal, right? You get Kate and Morgan, and this was a good scene.
The one where they were on the beach and they were crying?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I
Kate
think that was
Morgan,
I think that was a very nice scene, because I've always found it very disturbing. Maybe might not be the best word, but I've always found it hard to watch when buddies vote out each other.
Yeah.
Like, say, when Karen actually put down Zara's name, even though she said, I'm never going to put down Zara.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's better to own it and to apologize later, I guess.
Or just to admit that maybe, you know, like there are actually thoughts about doing it, or, you know, like to,
But to see these two have a genuine relationship that has carried on beyond the gameplay, and to have each other's interests above the money or the prize was very touching. I thought this was a very good moment.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if I had to like write down your name.
I know.
You know,
you would in a second. Okay, what are you talking about? But yeah,
if you wrote down my name, I would never ever forgive you.
Yeah. But yeah, you see Morgan taking a nap and Kate walking over to her and saying, "Look," they almost giving each other permission to say, like, you know,
oh, just sacrifice me, you know, for your own game.
But as Kate quickly realizes, like, if we kill each other, that's it. We won't. It'll just be another day. It won't be anything else. And so Kate, I thought, did really good work after this. She went to Kaelin. She tried to identify who was the softest target and pitched Miles.
I think, and Morgan did too. Like, you know, she was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to get off the hammock. You know, let's just, you know, let's give it one last shot, which I think is a good effort.
Was there a move here for Kaelin to go to Miles, do you think? Or was he always going to stay strong? Was there a way that Kate could have got to Kaelin?
Listen, I think at the time, I kind of like always thought that Miles was kind of just putting it on. I felt like the graduates were going to stay strong.
Yeah.
And it made it seem like they probably weren't. But that's my thought. To be honest, I actually am kind of shocked that towards the end, Miles actually voted for AJ.
Yeah.
But I guess, again, this is something, you know, we'll talk about later.
But yeah, it's true what we talked about. They were self-incentivized to stay strong because through each other they have protection, you know, and once you turn on the other three, you become the target.
Yeah.
And you can't guarantee that Kate and Morgan are going to ride or die with you like the other three.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they are more beholden to each other than they are to you. So I guess that's what they meant by incentivized to stay strong. I think...
And I mean, even like though Miles was the one that said, oh, they're incentivized to stay strong. Well, so is he.
Yeah, they all are. Yeah, it's true. So...
We go to tribal?
Yeah, we go to tribal and there's another challenge surprise.
Okay, so I thought that was quite interesting. And why did you think they suddenly just had this new immunity challenge?
I feel like you said something at the time. You said they sometimes throw this in when things are getting too predictable or too obvious. And I felt like this was another one of those things. We saw it last year where Kirby was about to vote, I think, Ferris and... the other girl, I forgot her name, sorry, the Asian girl, but they threw a challenge, a sandbag
Irene or something.
Irene, that's it. Thank you. They threw in like a fire making challenge at the last second. Oh, surprise, guys! And it saved both Kirby, Ferris and Irene.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was another one of those that production was saving for the last minute. Look, if things get a little bit dull, a little bit monotonous, we got this up our sleeve.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, it felt a bit planted. What do you think?
I think it did, and I think maybe if I was trying to think. I mean, if Kate wasn't the one that had won it, let's just say if it was Morgan, I guess things probably would have changed quite dramatically.
Because then AJ doesn't want to vote out Kate yet, even though he does. Well, I think Kate is still the target then.
Yeah.
But it would have been interesting if, say, Kate won immunity and Morgan won the second immunity, and then the four are forced to cut each other early.
Yeah, that would be...
That would have been fascinating. I think that's the kind of scenario that everybody has been thirsty for.
If they had done that, they might not have need for that second immunity challenge because it actually would have mixed things up already.
Yeah, true. They may not have planted it then. Yeah. They may not have put it.
Yeah. Okay. But we did see that I think Zara was very, very disappointed that Kate won immunity. And Zara, to be honest, actually has come close quite a few times. To winning.
She has. Zara right now is just frothing at the bit to kill Kate, but just can't get to her. It's like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. You know what I mean? Maybe why won't you just freaking die?
I know, because she's been wanting to get rid of her for like forever, I think. I think Zara's maybe always felt that she is not able to work with them. Yeah. She hasn't forgotten how she was kind of treated at the bottom
Of Brawn.
of the Brawn, and the girls didn't actually want to work with her.
Yeah, they shut her out, and I feel like
fair
this
enough.
is sweet revenge for her.
Yeah. Well, besides that, why else do you think like she is so?
Well, she says it herself that she sees in Kate herself, but younger, taller, prettier, like the same kind of person. The same reason why, say, Rachel and Genevieve couldn't work together.
Yeah.
I think this is a bit of a misnomer on Zara's part. I think that she has it over Kate in all these factors of gameplay. She has outwitted, outlasted, outplayed Kate. However, Kate might be more popular on the jury, but I think Zara should feel secure about her gameplay against Kate.
I think so, because to be honest, I don't know why Zara is putting herself up as a final, like even
Against
a final
them.
two against like either Miles, Kaelin,
Yeah.
or AJ, because I feel from what the show has given us is that they have actually. They actually seem more winner worthy.
Of course,
than her.
yeah.
I feel like for me, Zara should actually have picked either Morgan or Kate
For
and stayed
sure.
with them.
I thought this was the point. Zara could have really worked with Kate and Morgan. Make a 3-strong alliance. She's incentivized to kill the boys here. Take the 2 girls to the final 3. Maybe Kate, and I think in a final 3 challenge, she can beat either of them in an endurance challenge, which tends to happen at 3. She can beat them. She's very strong, very good at these immunities. And then you get rid of Kaelin, who probably wins at 3. But
then again, I mean, if she actually saved Kate, and if Kate wins an immunity challenge, or
Yeah.
at least she'll probably end up picking Morgan instead.
True. That's why she has to win at 3.
Yeah.
But I think at least this way, Zara had a 15% chance of winning the game. I think all these other paths with the boys, she has a 1% chance of winning the game.
Okay.
Her chance of winning, even if she's less likely to get to the final 2 this way, she at least had a chance
A
of
higher
winning.
chance. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So it's like,
Against
like,
the boys,
like a lower chance to get to the finals, but a higher chance of winning. Yeah.
yeah. Against the boys, I just don't see it happening. This final 3, I don't. She either goes in as a 0 vote finalist against Miles or AJ. Kaelin, she might have a chance of getting something.
Kaelin, she might have a chance.
But I don't think Kaelin takes her. I
Well,
don't think
maybe
Kaelin
it's
takes
not
her.
her. Maybe it's like,
Yeah.
she might end up picking him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the one thing that Zara does have, though, and the
Yeah.
reason why she feels like she can go down this path against the boys, is just say it's a final 3, right? AJ, Miles, Zara. We think it's a final 2, but we don't know. But just say it is a final 3. I think AJ and Miles take some votes away from each other, and she comes up the middle like an independent candidate, like a Bernie Sanders, and wins the electorate through getting the popular vote. Do you know what I mean? So I think you have...
she might have Logan. She'll have Karen.
Yeah. Kate, Kristen, and then the hardcore players like a Paulie. We don't know how they're going to vote, but she might have a chance. And of course, don't forget Kaelin, AJ, Miles are going to be on the jury eventually.
Yeah.
So that's probably her thinking, but I agree with you that Kate and Morgan would have been a really good path for her, and she shouldn't have seen Kate as a threat the way she saw it. She said, literally, Kate is good at the same things I am. She's good at endurance. She's got a good social game. I don't want that taking away from my game. So if I'm sitting next to her, she's going to pitch, I'm going to pitch, the jury are going to see, well, Kate, do you know what I mean? I think that's what she thought in her mind. But I think, well, who knows what goes on the villa? Kate is probably the social butterfly, and Zara just can't have that.
Yeah, true. I mean, she was, I think, the only one who kind of got collapsed when it came to Jury Villa. I mean, everyone else has had a terrible, terrible reception.
I know, Kate was so popular. Kate and Logan are very, Kate more than Logan got shit from Laura.
Logan.
But Kate was very popular, the queen of Survivor Jury Villa so far. But let's talk about Morgan's gameplay. Okay, so Morgan goes home, and obviously we're going to not touch on the purple edit that she got or didn't get, how she was left out of everything in terms of the show. I'm going to say that Morgan was probably a recruit. Every year we get an Olympian, a rugby league player, a super athlete that probably doesn't watch the show like the other guys do, that is probably approached, hey, you're a great athlete, we need a great athlete who's a name to be on the show.
And just introduce some sort of like, I guess, caliber, especially in terms of like sports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas the other contestants, you know, like a Kent who's applied 10 times.
Yeah.
You know,
oh God.
you know, that's the other end of the spectrum. Someone who knows everything back to front. A Max, a Miles, who 3D print puzzles at home to practice them, right? That's one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then down the end, you have a Morgan who, like, oh, you want me to be on a TV show? What's the show? So, oh, you're still making that show? What are you paying me? Yeah, okay, I'll do it. That's probably where she's coming from. So I think a lot of the fans I've read this week are a little bit harsh on her gameplay for not knowing stuff, for not doing stuff, for not making moves, for example, or being a bit confrontational with Miles, the last tribal.
Yeah. Maybe for not understanding, I guess, the intricate kind of like workings of Survivor.
Yeah. Like she said something that I think got a reaction on Reddit. Where she goes, "Why should I work with you if you're not working with me?" Well, because you're on the bottom, and that's Survivor. If you're on the bottom, you have to work. If you're on the top, you don't. You know, the lion on top of the hill doesn't have to go anywhere. They're already on top of the hill. You have to climb the mountain if you're at the bottom of it.
But I guess that kind of like makes sense if it. You know,
but if you're not a fan of the show,
if you're not a fan and you're just like, well, I don't need to actually really change who I am.
Exactly.
You know, like for this show, like I'm just going to preserve my integrity.
Yeah, I'm just doing this for fun. I ain't bending over for nobody.
Yeah.
I'm coming Morgan and I'm leaving Morgan. So I think that's probably explains a lot about how she played the game. I just would have liked to have seen her play it a little bit more. But then again, we didn't see her.
And also, I guess, like, you know, I mean, if what the rumors did say are through, like, you know, it seems, or at least, no, not the rumors, maybe what she said that she went through a lot on the show.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you think, like, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to make moves. Like, you know, we're, like, just sitting here with our sofa, with our tea.
Sure.
When you're in the island, you're starving. You know, there's, like, there's no sugar, no salt. It's depressing.
She's
an
Olympian. So she would be at a big calorie deficit.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really don't know how you're going to function when your mood is actually very low. And it's actually very easy to get cranky and your mood, you know, to not be regulated. So,
yeah. I just think ultimately her presence was a big gap in the season in terms of the edit. I felt like if there's a criticism from me about this season of Australian Survivor, and I think it has been a very good season, all right? But I think losing Zen to injury, losing Ben, PD getting injured, Morgan not being edited, like there was just almost like a blip in the season where like, oh, remember them? They're gone. Do you know? And in the storytelling of this, you know, in the telling of this story of the season, there just seem to be big gaps.
Okay.
That's my only, especially in the middle sector of it. But that's my only criticism of it. And I think the way that post-production treated her character is a big reason for that. So the truth will come out. We'll find out. But kudos to you, Morgan. You were, you know, your limbs are the envy of everybody, you know, that watched the show. Like, yeah. Making us all look like chubby, stumpy plebs.
Okay, that did not come out creepy, so okay.
You look like, you know, like
an Amazonian,
like
Gal
Avatar,
in
or like Avatar or something, you know, like one of those blue Avatar people that are just like, wow. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Next episode.
Okay, so next episode, Morgan has just gone home. And okay, I felt like this episode was actually where Zara really started to shine. Yeah,
I really like this episode for Zara. We got to see Zara come to the fore. And I think that, you know, we haven't gotten to appreciate how much she's had to do. You know, she was on the bottom of Brawn 2.0, I think it was, but it was mainly Brawn people.
Yeah, that part gets a bit confusing as to like which is which.
So it was her, Laura, Miles really working from the bottom.
Yeah.
And she survived.
Yeah, she survived. Yeah. She kind of actually reminds me a little bit of Liz, who was a winner.
A couple of years ago.
Years ago, I think she was working with Shani and George a lot. Like they have that same kind of tenacious perseverance that just endures the show. Like, whatever comes their way, they're just gritting it and be like, okay, let's just take it up the chin.
Very determined.
Yeah, very determined. Let's not get too emotional about it.
Obviously, she made a misstep with Laura. I thought that could have been handled a little bit better with the advantage. Remember
well, that's the thing. I'm just like, do you think...
I thought that might hurt her with votes later on.
Okay, let's talk about who we think who will vote for who later on.
Yeah, but overall her gameplay is really coming on, especially since Karen left.
Yeah.
I felt like that opened up her relationships with everybody, allowed her, it removed the block so that she could work untethered with Karen, who was a real obstacle with her relationships with everybody, because Karen was always, she was beholden to Karen's feelings. I think we have a very critical conversation here between Zara and Miles, right? And this is where Miles pitches AJ. And I think the mistake that Miles makes is that he sells it as his move.
He sells it as his and her moves.
Right.
But the thing is, if both of them are intending to take each other to jury villa, to finals, well then you can't actually distinguish it as like, you can't actually each claim it.
Exactly. You can't keep padding each other's resume if you're going to take the other person to the finals.
And also, it seems like it's more Miles' plan, because he was the one that pitched it rather than Zara's plan, where she kind of just like...
And AJ is his buddy.
Yeah, AJ's his buddy.
He gets credit for it.
He will actually get more credit for it.
So the only way he was going to get Zara to do this was actually to get Zara to suggest it. Don't say the name. Let Zara say the name and say, I'll back you up if you want this move. But Miles is never going to do that. He gets too giddy, too excited, too, woohoo, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill him. And I think Zara is like, yeah, good move, but why am I padding this guy's resume over and over again?
Well, I mean, do you think maybe that might be something she would have done if she didn't win immunity? But when she actually did win immunity, suddenly everyone actually came talking to her, and she actually realized she had all the information.
Yeah.
And she has the power.
Yeah, she has the power.
Yeah. So, and normally I feel like it's when people win immunity, that's when they actually feel the confidence to make a move.
That's right. Because, and they are the anchor. They become the anchor that everybody then refers to or talks to as to what they're doing, because they can stay strong with their vote without any fear. So that's true. So it's very interesting because they have been acting as a group this whole time, and this is the episode where we finally see self-interest overtake group interest in terms of game dynamics.
I was kind of like hoping it wouldn't come to that, but I guess it's maybe inevitable.
I mean, yeah, it's $500,000.
Yeah.
Final 5. It's a lot of money, and in order to catch these big targets, or in order to win, you're going to have to remove your biggest threat. And it's fascinating this episode how Miles and AJ doesn't see this coming at all.
Yeah, I know. I think I was just kind of like just hanging on to that idealization where it's like, okay, like AJ, Kaelin, and like Miles go
walk together.
Like, I know. And because I just kind of like had this thought, oh, maybe they actually just want to make the finale really big with actually the best players rather than actually go like, oh, who can I actually beat in tribal?
Yeah,
it would have been nice.
It would have been nice.
It would have been nice.
It would have been Black Widow Brigade-ish.
Yeah.
Because those 4 were able to stay loyal to each other through the end despite each other's games and self-interest. They put the group above others. That's what made them so strong. But human nature overtakes game nature, as we see, and Miles just can't help himself.
They did say that, when it's Final 4, they would actually start to play. So,
yeah. They seem to have had this gentlemanly agreement. Let's get to 4 and then it's knives out. But until then, no one makes a move, because AJ doesn't even see this coming.
No.
But he does preempt. He's setting the groundwork for the next vote, I can see. He's getting Kaelin to work against Miles. He's saying, Miles is coming for you. Hey, Miles, you have to go for Kaelin. Do you know what I mean? He's putting this... He's got this idea that Miles might make a move, but he has no idea that Miles is actually going for him. He thinks Miles is targeting Kaelin.
Yeah.
And AJ's style is very much has been to get others to make moves for him. He's often voted against his own self-interest. So he'll get others to form an alliance, to form a voting bloc, and then he'll vote with his original Graduates Alliance so that he doesn't betray them, but really he is pushing the vote the other way. So, for example, when he voted against Miles but told Miles to play his idol. So he's played both sides very well to date.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is a misread and one of his few misreads of the season. Yeah, he knew that Miles was going to flip, but he didn't know that Miles was going to flip against AJ.
Yeah, and I think maybe in his defense, because the logical path would not have been to like he knew that I think for him he just felt it was not the right time. The next vote would have been the right time, because now if like AJ was voted out, guess who's going to be voted out next tribal? Kaelin, Zara, Kate are just all going to vote for Miles, and there's no idol at play.
Yeah, I think this path that Miles is going on really counts on him winning the next challenge. If he got out AJ, because he becomes the next target. Do you know what I mean? I think Miles was really banking on, I get out AJ at 5, then it's me versus Kate versus Kaelin versus Zara at a physical challenge. I'm betting on myself. Then I have the leverage. I get out and I go with Zara. But AJ, like you said, is thinking, why would you cut me at 5 when at 4...
It would have been a lot safer.
It would have been a lot safer. Now you're going to turn the other postgrads against you. I have a closer relationship with the postgrads, AJ is thinking.
I'm turning against
and
you.
now I'm turning against you. Now you've missed, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, AJ just didn't see it coming at all.
No, and I think his reaction to at Tribal was actually very interesting. It wasn't like a hurt betrayal, like, oh my god, I can't believe you voted for me because we're such close friends. It was more like a bewildered, like, this just does not make sense logically. Like, you can vote for me next time, but why, if you just,
Like, why would you make that move logically?
Like now.
Doesn't make move.
Yeah, like, it's just not the right time.
Yeah, now I have the armaments to launch a counterattack. And secondly, you didn't have enough votes to go for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kate wasn't with you. Zara didn't go with you. You only voted by yourself. You didn't have enough to go for me. You have to go for me. Yeah, I think AJ was genuinely surprised.
Yeah, he was surprised, and not in a hurt kind of way, but in a very logical,
incredulous.
does not make sense kind of way.
Yeah. Incredulous. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that was a bad move. You've cooked your own game.
Yeah.
Because
why would you cook your own game? Because you're such a good player.
We'll talk about this a bit more. So this was a good challenge where they have the sticks and they have to duck under and they have to balance the cubes. I like these kind of challenges.
This is a good challenge, yeah.
I like the ones that require patience. Even though I have none, but that's a good challenge.
Dexterity, like balance as well. And Kaelin was very good at it.
Kaelin was good.
Zara and Kate also were very good at it,
I think. Zara pulls it off.
Yeah, I think because she's a little bit smaller as well. And I feel like in this game, it does benefit someone who is just a little bit smaller.
You saw how AJ struggled to get under the beam and how big he was.
AJ is always the first one to get out. And everyone's like, okay, AJ's out. Okay, I can go now too.
Yeah. It's just tough for the bigger people. But yeah, Zara wins. Now Zara has all the power. All the voices come to Zara. All the plans come to Zara. It's like a river that flows downhill. All the information comes to her. And she quickly determines, right, that everybody's voting for somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kaelin wants to vote Miles. AJ wants to vote Kate. Miles wants to vote AJ. Kate is the swing. And this is...
No, Kate votes...
Sorry. So Kate votes Kaelin, and Zara is the swing. Apologies. So yeah, Miles tells Kate to vote Kaelin as a decoy, which is interesting. And she actually does it. Like, Miles goes up to Kate and goes, you should vote Kaelin. I was very surprised here that she did that and didn't go with...
AJ.
I
think he was worried that she was going to tell AJ about his plan.
Yeah.
Which in turn would have mounted... AJ would have mounted a defense against him.
Right.
Because she's close with him.
Yeah.
Because in this case, she can go to AJ and be like, Miles wants you out. Should we vote out Miles?
Yeah.
But in which case, well, he has the idol. But still, it would have been like,
Yeah, I think
a loss of a vote.
The funny thing is that none of the boys picked up on Zara's determination to cut Kate here. You know,
Did you think that she was going to vote
Yeah.
Kate or AJ?
I thought she was. The show made it look like it was going to edit AJ. The edit made it look like she was going to cut AJ, but you only have to look back a couple episodes to see Zara's frame of mind when it comes to Kate.
Yeah.
She is so determined to get rid of her. Like, it's almost like whenever her name comes up, she's like, gets a twitch. Gets, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Gets a frothing at the mouth where I have to kill her. I have to kill her. You know, it's never going to work in Zara's mind. She's too similar in too many ways, as she said. And once she had that power, she had to take that opportunity.
Yeah, and also
when
this
it
is
came
also
up.
like this is the actual move that she can claim, whereas
Yes.
the move with AJ, she can't actually really claim it because it would be like a half move. To be honest, it probably actually belongs more to Miles than to her. Whereas this move, like, she kind of blindsided everyone.
Exactly.
Especially, like, she can say, okay, Miles, I blindsided you. I was supposed to work with you, but I decided to make my move, and I did so when I had the chance to win an idol. You know, and now, you know, this is my move.
This is her big move.
This is her big move.
And good on her. It's a big move. It's a good move.
Mm-hmm.
She fooled everybody. A big move, a good blindside is not only when you blindside the person getting voted out, but also all the other jury, other tribal members when they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're able to manipulate the vote. This was her big moment.
Yes.
And this was when she really came to the fore. If she is to have a final jury vote, I think this is where she can say, look, this is where I took control of the game. And the winner should go, the title should go to the person who controls the game. Not who has the most moves, but who controls the game. I controlled the game. I controlled AJ. I managed Miles. Kaelin was my BIH. Everybody was mine, you know, and so I am the boss. So give me the title. I am the PTA queen. Gimme. She's the one that saw everybody's true face.
Yeah, although I think that she would probably have to word it a lot nicer if you are pitching to the jury, because I think as in the past we've seen when you've actually tried to act all superior to the jury and be like, you know, I owned you, I did that, I did that.
Yeah.
It actually has not come across as very
pleasant.
I
think she'll pitch like that though. I get the
Yeah.
feeling that as the PTA vice president, she'll be pitching to her fellow parents like that. What do you think she'll pitch?
Probably. I feel like she's going to pitch more like that rather than like the David way where he's kind of like appealing to everyone's ego. I found you
She's
such
a lawyer.
threat, you know, and that's why I decided that you had to be the next one to go. You know, apologies about that, but you were just simply too good in the game for me to let you remain, you know?
Right.
Which is a very flattering way.
Very nice.
Yeah, and also because David, he was in the jury himself.
Yeah,
you know,
he
and
knew
he knew like how
Jury's worked.
turn off thing it can be.
Yeah, right.
If someone tries to like force you into a vote.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think Zara has a very strong avenue here to get to the final two, no matter how this plays out. Let's talk about Miles and AJ and their touching moment on the beach here.
Yeah. So I think AJ kind of like acknowledged that, okay, I feel like you're going to make a crazy move. So just play your idol, please.
Yeah.
You know? So I think he knew like something was coming on.
Play it for yourself.
Yeah, play it for yourself, you know?
Make it a predictable vote. Make this vote land on Kate. Maybe Kaelin, but don't make it crazy so that it goes somewhere else.
And so both times he has actually won Miles to use his idol.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating. I have to say, I really like their relationship.
In AJ's mind, he doesn't mind going to the end with Miles. You know, I think Miles doesn't want to go with AJ, but I think AJ doesn't mind going to the end with Miles. I think he feels like, sure, this guy got all these idols, did a couple fashion moves, but I'm the one that has all the relationships on the jury. I'm the one that voted correctly all the way. I'm the one that had the most alliances.
Had the most control. And he said, like, I've been in full control of the tribe.
He's played from the top, really, if you think about it.
He's never had to play from the bottom.
Whereas Miles has
played from the bottom. So it's going to be a very interesting...
and Kaelin has played silently,
tribal.
If anything.
Yeah, and I think we should also discuss maybe in terms of like, okay, if whoever goes to jury, what would their style be in terms of like how their pitching style? you know, because as we've known,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily
let's do
like
that.
what moves you have, but
Let's do
it's
that
actually
later.
how you're able to pitch to the jury. Like, you know, if you're good at, say, debating, good at articulating your moves.
We should talk like that.
Yeah.
We should talk that. Okay, let's round out Miles and AJ, that touching moment. I thought Miles here was very human, very revealing. I thought this could be...
That was really his best moment ever, actually.
Yeah. I thought this could be his winner's edit. I said at the time, this is what the editors do to the winner. They give them this touching human moment. I'm sure they all cry on the island at this point, but they gave him this moment on the show to be human, to be touching, to be, you know, sensitive. And it was very, very, very good drama. It was so touching to see him talk about his friendships with AJ and Kaelin.
Yeah.
And I really loved this moment, to see him really be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And not just be this cheeky jungle rat, but to actually be like, I love these guys. And I'm
Yeah.
going to have to crush their dreams in order
Yeah.
to make my dreams come true. I thought it was a very, very nice moment.
Yeah, very, very human. Rather than it just being all blasé, it's like, oh, you know, now I'm gonna like just kill them because I really want this for myself. Which,
Death and honor and all this
you know,
nonsense
yeah,
that
which
George
I think
says.
like is very egocentric.
Yeah.
You know, and whereas this is actually like acknowledging, you know, both the good and the bad sides of
difficulties
you know,
of playing this
Yeah,
game.
of playing this game because
Yeah.
it is a hugely difficult game.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought I really liked Miles in this moment. There have been times where I've been a little irritated by him. I've been going for him a little bit. I feel very, you know, I identify with Miles a lot. You know, so to see him reveal this emotionality and it was very nice. It was a very good moment. Very nice cut, nicely cut. Good on you, Miles, for showing your sensitive side. So we get to Tribal, and we talked about AJ being surprised and how they're using each other as a shield to get to the end. But ultimately, Kate goes home.
Yeah, Kate goes home.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
round out Kate's game before we talk about other stuff. Kate's gameplay. Let's talk about Kate's gameplay.
Okay, to be honest, I think she has been probably one of the most agreeable people to play in this season. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like she actually gets along well with everyone. When she is pushed into a corner, she actually is also... I've been actually very impressed by the way when she feels like she's at the bottom, she's actually still willing to, like, listen to people, you know, to hear pitches.
Yeah.
And to kind of, like, try and work out a way in which she can save either her or Morgan from being voted out.
Yeah.
And she's actually spoke very well at Tribal.
She's played a very good gameplay,
Yeah.
I thought.
Even though she hasn't made any moves.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought her moves against... she was the anti-Logan in many ways. Like, whereas Logan could be very disagreeable or domineering on the tribe.
Emotional,
and emotional. She was able to separate that and make a very strong social game. I think she just didn't quite open up her social avenues as much as she needed to. She was very reliant on Morgan and AJ as her connective tissue through the tribe.
Yeah.
Had she maybe positioned herself a little bit
Earlier, maybe with Zara, you know, that could have actually helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with Brawn, I felt like the big move that she could have had would have been to cut Jesse and Ben, but she never got that opportunity because I think
Yeah.
they had a bit of a merge swap, and that could have changed the dynamics of her game completely. But she played from near the bottom almost the whole way since merge and never quite got the social footing because, let's face it, the postgraduates were just too damn solid and too strong.
Yeah,
you know?
and also I don't think Kate is that kind of strategic player.
No.
And so while she's a very good social player,
Yeah.
you know, and in real world, like, you know, she would, you know, definitely thrive. But perhaps in terms of strategy, that's just not her thing. And that's okay. Like, you
That's
know,
okay.
most of the time, the people who are the least strategic are actually the people who are actually stronger
Yeah.
socially. And sometimes something's got to give.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she'd be AJ.
Yeah.
You know, but
Or Miles, you know, like
but
Miles
she's
is
not.
just all strategy.
Yeah. Good-looking people don't need to think about betraying each other to get by in the world. They can just get by on being good-looking and charming. They don't have the, how am I going to betray my friends today? Like, so, yeah, I think Kate, great gameplay overall, given
She's
where
like
she
kind of
came
like the
from.
new Shawnee, I think.
Yeah, where she came from and her background in terms of not being maybe a super hyper crazy fan. She did well.
Yeah,
to
she
get
did
to the
really
final
well.
five.
Like she
pretty good
presented
at challenges.
presented very well on camera.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it would have been easy to like write her off, or you know, as like, oh, the pretty blonde girl that, you know, like you know,
Yeah.
is stupid or something. But she actually isn't. She's incredibly emotionally smart. You know, and no, kudos to her. I think she'll probably come back on a few reality shows.
She played very well from the bottom two. She didn't give up. She didn't quit. You know, there were opportunities to just go, bugger it, I'm done. But she got up.
She didn't throw a tantrum.
Yeah, she got up and she pitched her case to all of them. I really liked the way she pitched at Tribal or to the other players to say, look, you got 2 floating votes here. You got 2 sitting ducks. Work with us. We can give you the blind side. Everyone talks about exciting moves, but they're just making She did what she had to do.
Yeah.
She did what she could do. But ultimately, the triumvirate of the postgraduates was just so immovable.
Yeah.
That, you know, both things can be true. She can play a great game and the other 3 are invincible.
Yeah.
You know, so any other season she might have even gone a bit further.
Definitely.
So Kate,
and to be honest, she was like in final 5. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. Good
That's
on you.
huge. Yeah.
You get to be and very popular on the jury. I think
for not being a super fan too.
Yeah, I think she'll be a strong force on the jury in terms of who she tells them to vote for. She will sway a lot of it.
Okay, so should we talk about like the jury? Like who you think?
Okay, who's going to be king and queen of Jury Villa? Is that what you mean?
Or at least who do you think they will vote for? Well, depending on who is on the final 2.
Okay, let's talk about that, and then we'll go to our picks. So, okay, who? Let's go through all 4. I mean, who do you think they'll vote for if?
It was like say Miles.
Oh gosh,
and Zara.
there's so many computations.
So many computations.
I don't know if we can work through it.
let's go with the most simpler 2. So let's go with AJ and Kaelin, and also Miles versus Zara.
Okay.
And then we'll see who will pick for, you know?
Okay, I think if it's AJ versus Kaelin, it's a clean sweep for AJ, I think. I think as good as Kaelin is at physical challenges, the perception of him, which AJ reads correctly, is that he's a little bit out of it. Not. They talk to him like he's dumb, is what AJ said. You know, which he isn't. He's super smart.
Yeah.
He's played a great game. What Kaelin needs to do is to get to that jury and say, ta-da, almost rip off the mask and go, I'm Kaiser Soze. I acted like I was dumb, but I'm smart all along.
Yeah,
I
all
played
those,
this game.
you know, like when you think I was winning challenges, I was telling JLP not to like say it too loudly.
Yeah, he
you know?
needs to do that.
Yeah.
And if he can do that successfully and they go, wow, I think he might get a few votes, but I think he almost needs to send someone to the jury to tell them. Like a Miles or a Zara, you know, and tell them,
if it's final 2, there will be either an AJ or a Miles in jury, and then they would like, yes, Kaelin did actually want to keep a very low profile. That's his game.
Yeah.
You know, so in which case, I do believe that they would verify that.
Yeah. So AJ, Kaelin, how do you see the vote split? Say there's 7 votes there. Mm-hmm. How do you think it goes? Because Morgan's not on the jury anymore. So how do you think it goes?
I think Kate would definitely vote for AJ. Kirsten might vote for Kaelin because I think they're quite close together.
Yeah, Karen,
she
hates AJ.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I feel like she might acknowledge that AJ is the better player, but I don't know if she can put aside her feelings to vote for AJ. Yeah. To admit that he kind of like had the upper hand over her.
Yeah. Laura?
Because she was just so salty. Laura, probably AJ.
Logan.
Probably AJ.
Zara, AJ.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk
Paulie.
about
Well, actually, Paulie's
a wild card.
Paulie's a wild card. Yeah.
Let's talk about Zara and Miles. Okay. As a tandem.
So this is like, say, if Zara was up against Miles in final.
Final 2. I think this is an interesting one. I think this is more evenly balanced than, say, AJ versus Kaelin.
Okay, so firstly, I think AJ and Kaelin would definitely vote for Miles because now they will be in the jury.
That's already 2.
That's already 2.
Yeah.
And they would have a strong influence.
Exactly. And I think they would
be able to verify anything that Miles says.
I think Zara has played a good game, but a much more quiet, subtle, and it'll be a tough path for her to beat Miles. So even Miles says to Zara as they're sitting on the beach, I want to take you to the final because I'm the only one that I think I could beat you. You know what I mean? Which is surprising that he would say that to her, because then she's like, well, why should I go with you then? You know? I think Zara's best chance to win was either the two girls or Kaelin, but Miles versus Zara, I think Miles takes it by a landslide.
Well, do you think maybe Zara is just saying that she's going to take Miles, but secretly she's actually going to take Kaelin? Because we don't know what's going to...
I think that's the smart move for her. Yeah, I think that is the smart move for her. So, of the final four, okay, the reason why we paired them up in those two is because AJ wants to take Kaelin as his final two.
Kaelin wants to take AJ and vice versa.
Wants to take... Miles wants to take Zara, and Zara wants to take Miles. This is what they've said openly. We don't know whether that's the truth or whether they'll change their minds, obviously. This is just what they have said they want. Let's play a bit of a game. You know how Kaelin and Kristen, they were like, oh, let's be each other's jury pitchers?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that. Okay, so who do you want to be? Who do you want to be first? You go first.
Oh, I don't know. Can you go first?
Okay,
I feel like I'm very good at
Okay, I'll be Zara.
I think it would be one of my like, you know, like a huge a fear is actually like speaking in public.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Like, this is why we haven't posted our wedding speech. It's terrifying. But okay.
Yeah, and you wrote.
And you wanted to be a podcast.
No, you wanted to do the podcast. I mean, you wrote your wedding speech at the, like, you know, like the night before wedding.
In the elevator on the way to the reception. Yeah, and I slayed it. Standing ovation. Okay, so I'll be Zara. Okay. Hello, jury. Thank you for this game. I appreciate all of you. As president of the PTA, I am used to running stuff. And I've run this whole game. These boys that are the postgraduates, they were my students. I have run this the whole way. I've managed every single part of this game. Sure, I haven't made the flashy moves that all of you wanted to see, but I had to clean up after them. I was aware of each of their moves. Whenever they made these moves, they came to me and I voted with them. I supported them. I enacted them. I enabled them. Okay? I worked with Karen the whole way through, halfway through, and she was a great shield for me. But then she had to go. And unfortunately, after that, I made a new alliance with the postgraduates. I was able to come back to them, mend that relationship, and form a great alliance that has carried us through to the end. Now, these three boys have played very flashy games. They've done great stuff, but they've also made a lot of mistakes. They've made enemies. They've not cleaned up after themselves. I've managed to make a great game that has been clean. Except for you, Laura. I'm sorry, Laura. Please vote for me, humbly. That was a bit too long. But go on, what do you think?
No, that's very good, honey.
Okay, who do you want to vote? Who do you want to be?
I don't know if I can do, like, you know, I don't know if I
do
can
Kaelin.
Speak like... Okay. Okay, hey, jury. Kaelin. I guess my most successful attribute towards the season has been the fact that I've actually won 6 immunity idols, which is a record-breaking feat. I am a challenge beast, and that's it. I've actually played very much from the bottom. I didn't want to be a standout because I know that that would be one of the quickest way to get voted out of the game. I've probably only received 1 vote in my life throughout the entire season, which goes to show how good my game is, because even though I've won 6 immunity challenges, no one has thought of voting me out because I have remained under the radar. And I've actually secretly worked with both Miles and AJ from the very beginning to determine who is going to be voted out, but have excluded myself from being on the assault front so that I will not be targeted. I've maintained extremely good relationships with every one of you, and I hope that you will see the how good I've been in this game. And
that's good.
Thank you. Yeah,
I think that's a good pitch.
That's kind of that's not too bad.
Yeah, I think Kaelin has a chance if he says what you just said. Yeah. The tough part is always the questions. When the questions come, right? Where Paulie... I could see Paulie coming and just going...
Paulie's going to have a lot of questions.
Why did you cut me and call me a snake when you're like... Huh?
Yeah.
He's going to make him
'cause
feel
I
bad.
think he was like telling Kirsten, "You're the snake. Why did you call me the snake?" And I
Paulie's
was like,
going to be tough on that
it's
jury.
always going to be like he's
Okay.
going to bring up. Okay, and are you going to do AJ and Miles? I think you should.
Okay, I'll be one of them and you be the other. Okay, AJ, I would say I have been the boss of this entire season. Okay, pre-merge, I took half the tribe hostage. I controlled that and I made the other team throw a couple challenges and I still wasn't made a target. I haven't received hardly any votes. Every single time there was a vote, I put together the alliance that made it. I was part of the berries, I was a part of the postgraduates, I was part of the bomb squad, I was part of every single major alliance that there has been in this show other than Girls Gone Wild, which makes me the one with the finger in all the pies. I have run this whole show from beginning to end. I think he's going to say something like that. So vote for me. Yeah, each of you I have a good relationship with, which speaks to, even though I voted all of you out, I have a good relationship with all of you, which speaks to my relationships with all of you, except for you, Karen, and Zara, and Logan. You hate me, but despite that...
But I've always been forthright with you.
But I've always been forthright. I think AJ's pitch is going to be along the lines of, I'm the emperor of this game.
Yeah, and I think it would be whether like people kind of like say I can imagine Karen and Logan just be like rolling their eyes like, oh my god, this guy is so irritating.
He might actually play into his own ego, which will have an adverse reaction to them, rather than pointing out his strategic moves.
Yeah.
If he starts to drop the words running this, boss, ruler, I think they're going to be like, ugh, I'm not voting for that. And that could hurt his game.
I think he's probably a lot more self-aware than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miles, you want to just touch on what Miles is going to say?
Oh, Miles, okay.
The jungle rat.
The jungle rat. So, Miles, okay, if I'm Miles, I'll be like, okay, I've had to play the scrappiest game from the very beginning. I was the most unpopular member of the tribe. You know, I was called the jungle rat. You know, I've had no alliance. I've had to play from the very bottom. I had to scramble, crawl, you know, bite my way.
Yeah.
And, you know, work with people I didn't want to. I've had to make so many pitches when I was at the bottom to people who are at the top so that they would, you know, not vote me out. I had the record fine of 4 idols. 3 of them were played correctly. I managed to get out my biggest enemy, Max. Blindside him. Not only blindside him, but actually, you know, like vote him out, you know, when the target was actually me. So kind of like reverse the tables.
The big move with Paulie, he said?
Oh, yeah. And then there was the big move with Paulie when, against everyone's, I guess, you know, expectations, I actually played a vote for Paulie, ensuring that he is now in my alliance and getting out. Who was out? I think who did they get out? I can't remember.
It was Kristen. No, wasn't it Kristen?
No, Kristen was allowed. Oh, well, it was someone. I think he not on jury.
PD.
Ah, yes, PD. Yeah, so that was my move. So there are so many moves that I can claim.
Yep.
And I think. Sorry, I can't actually remember all the things that Miles did, but I feel like Miles will actually be very good at finals because
I think
he's
he'll be
very articulate.
Yeah.
He's also been able to keep his emotions in check when he very coolly explained to Morgan why he didn't have to pitch to her because she was at the bottom and he was at the top.
Yeah.
I think Miles would be able to articulate it a lot better than I can. Yeah.
No, well, I think you did it very good, hon. I just think Miles will have a great story to tell.
He does, yeah.
You know what I mean?
From the jungle rat to king of the jungle.
Yeah.
King of the jungle, the rat
He's
king.
played from the bottom the whole way. I think of all of them, he has the story, the path, the journey that is very, very appealing. It'll be hard to beat him
It's
in a final
definitely
two.
very much a David versus Goliath. Goliath, story.
Yeah, and he's overcome so much.
Yeah.
You think about how at the bottom of the Brawn, Ben and Jesse just speaking to him like dish pig. You know, Max gunning for him, Kent gunning for him. He was never in a position of popularity, power, or strength. He was always on the bottom, just scrambling by, getting idols. They spoke to him at him with almost
disdain,
you know, for much of this show.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think out of everyone, he actually was probably the true survivor. Like, he actually really had to survive.
Yeah. So I think the edit is certainly looking like it's going to be his to win. From what I've heard on Reddit, everybody is rooting for him. The show tends to sort of... Australian Survivor especially, as opposed to American Survivor. American Survivor tends to reveal the winner almost like a surprise. Australian Survivor the way it's cut tells more of a story.
You know, to like why they are deserving, how they got there.
There's a real through line from the beginning to the end.
So that, you know, as a viewer for us, you know, we feel satisfied. Okay, yeah, he has actually earned this title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so who would you like for final 2?
AJ v Miles. gimme. Okay. That's my dream too.
Yeah.
That's my dream too. Get the 2 best players all season, put them against each other, let's battle it out. I hope they get that final 2.
Yeah.
I just don't see a world where if Miles wins at 3, he's going to take Zara. If AJ wins at 3, he's going to take Kaelin.
Well,
I just don't see a world where they take each other.
Maybe AJ might take Miles. But then that would kind of like betray Kaelin though.
And then you're giving away $500,000. AJ has to know deep in his heart that Miles is the only one that can beat him. Can beat him. Not will, but can beat him. Yeah. And Miles has to know deep in his heart that AJ is the only one that can beat him. Not will beat him, but can beat him.
And wouldn't it be great?
So wouldn't it be great if they just put down their arms and went, you know what I want? Let's see who the better player is. But we've never seen that.
I know.
We always see the cut at 3 or 4, you know, and they all say it. Like Farrah says, I'll take Kirby.
I know.
You know, David says, I'll take Moana. You know, or I'll take Shani. But they always cut, you know, George says, I'll take Shani. But they always cut each other at 4 or 3 so they don't have that big opponent. Okay,
I think my wish would still be for either one of them. I feel like maybe Miles might maybe take AJ because I feel like he might want the flashiest finale ever.
That'd be great.
AJ, I think he might be inclined to, but then maybe he might feel... because he does have a loyalty towards Kaelin, you know, so that might come into conflict. Whereas I don't feel like Miles actually has this kind of like loyalty towards Zara.
Right.
So, well, anyway, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. Shall we wrap it up there?
Yeah.
That was a long episode.
That was a long episode. Yeah. And
2
thank you so
hours.
much.
Holy crap.
What?
An hour and a half. Sorry.
Oh.
Thank you for bearing with us. We blabbered on a lot this episode, but I had a lot of fun. And there's only one left too.
I know. So I think, the next podcast episode will be, you know, like Tuesday, I guess recapping the finale, season. The next 2 episodes. So Sunday will be the final 4 to 3, the cut from 4 to 3, and then Monday obviously will be the finale. 3 to 2, and then the jury. And the jury. And maybe I hope we get a reunion show. I really enjoy those. But we'll see. Well, are they going to do this one where they actually have the reunion show and then the actual winner is... we don't know. Last year they didn't. They just announced the winner and they did it all on the beach, remember? No. Was it? I thought it was American Survivor. Oh, well. We'll have to look back. It's been a while. It's been a while, sorry. Having a senior moment. We're a bit old and our minds are not working the same. Okay, guys, so thank you so much. This is a wrap up and thank you so much for listening to the show. This is the Recreate Reality Podcast by Michael and Teresa. You can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch funny short clips of what we've talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal and we are extremely grateful for any support you give. We'll be back shortly with the finale and final episode for the season, so stay tuned. Bye. Bye. Say bye, Sherlock.